There's a lot that we just saw in the teaser trailer for James Gunn's Superman film. Let's break it down. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel, and something we haven't done in a while, a breakdown video where we're going to take down frame by frame a look at everything that happens in this Superman trailer, all 2 minutes of it, and break it down. I'll give you my personal thoughts, feelings, analysis, things that, popped out in my head. I'm sure there's probably a dozen of these videos already out there with people well more qualified than me. We're going to do it anyway. Without further ado, guys, let's not waste any time. So we start off this trailer in a frozen tundra, and I'm going to pause it throughout this trailer because I want to highlight some moments, and we get moments just like this that I want to talk about, where we see, obviously, as you can see in the middle of the screen, we see Clark Kent, Superman, crashing down in the middle of a frozen tundra. Now, in this moment, I've seen a lot of references that people apparently seem to be making to an iconic like death pose or something like that from Dragon Ball Z or something like that. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not necessarily familiar with that, but I've seen this floating around, a lot of comparison shots and images and things like that. So I guess he's doing some, what do they call it? The Yamcha pose or something like that. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you know anything about that. I don't know if this is a direct reference to that pose or if this is just irony in the making. Maybe this is kind of, we see this a lot in films where filmmakers will create poses or do certain things that directly relate to anime. So it wouldn't be surprising if this is something directly correlated to Dragon Ball Z, but still pretty cool. And obviously, I think this really sets the tone for the entire trailer. I'm actually going to slow it down here because I want to take a moment to, I don't want to keep pausing it every 2 seconds, but I want to take a moment to really highlight some of this stuff. So obviously we see him drop down. Now, one thing I do want to talk about and one thing I do want to highlight is, as Superman is falling and he's crash landing into this frozen tundra, not only does this set the tone for the entire trailer, right? Showing from the start, like James Gunn and the crew could have easily highlighted Superman as being this all reverent savior-like figure who is got this suit of armor, his suit on, and it looks beautiful. It looks perfect, pristine. But the fact that they show Superman, the first image that we see from him is actually him crash landing and falling, I think really highlights a more vulnerable Superman that we're going to see here. And that actually has me really excited because, again, a lot of us kind of have this, very picture perfect image of Superman, and to highlight it in this way, I think is really nice. So I also feel like this potentially could be a nod to Superman's origin story. I could be reaching here, but it very much feels like the start of this trailer, seeing Superman crash land into anything, really kind of highlights his journey to Earth as a child, and Superman crash landing into Smallville and him being found, and him living his whole life. Obviously we know that this isn't an origin story. If that is the case, and that's the direct parallel that we're seeing here with him crash landing in this frozen tundra, it could be their way of giving a little nod to his origin. So that's kind of what I'm clinging on to that theory as of right now, but that is really, really fun. And obviously we see Superman here, and he is beaten, he's bruised, battered, absolutely destroyed. And then we get a nice transition here to our first look as David Cornsweet is playing the one and only Clark Kent. He's holding a Daily Planet letter. Really good stuff, really accurate. And I don't know, I like this look. I like this look that they went with this version of Clark Kent. And I'm excited to see how he kind of portrays the two characters, as he's playing both Clark Kent and Superman. So I'm interested to see how that is. But obviously you see Superman, even though he is the Man of Steel, he is still kind of stumbling and getting bumped into and things like that. And, I talked about this in Superman and Lois, but I think it really highlights that Superman really is a class actor. I mean, he really is, because obviously he could easily ram through all these people, but he chooses to portray vulnerability, to portray a human side that I don't think you and I realize requires so much practice and effort and things like that. Things that obviously, Martha and Jonathan Kent probably taught him, but things that I think are still really cool. We also get, our first look at the Daily Planet building. We saw this in the teaser for the teaser that dropped yesterday, but we get our first look, this for more of a ground level of the Daily Planet. And I wasn't able to get a picture of what this cop is looking at. Yeah, I can't zoom it in, but I wish I could, but I can't see exactly what the headline is on this thing. But we do get another sign on the side here: freshly handmade cupcakes, red velvet, coconut, lemon. I was hoping when I first saw this sign that this was some sort of Easter egg or tease. If it is, let me know. To me, it just looks like a sign for some delicious cupcakes, and I'm very on board for that. And moving on from there, Clark Kent going into the Daily Planet transitions back to Superman. You know, honestly, guys, I have my theories on what exactly could have happened to him. Obviously, he was in an epic battle, and he was in an epic battle against something that could hurt him. I don't know if this scene is like him near death or something, and Krypto's actually the one that saves him. But despite all that, we get our first official look at Krypto, who charges in super fast to rescue Superman, which was actually a really cool image. And then transitioning again back to Clark Kent, we get our first look at Rachel Brosnahan playing the one and only Lois Lane. And I'll be honest with you guys, it wasn't until this trailer that I realized how closely I have followed the development, the evolution of this moment leading to this moment. I mean, we have talked about castings for Lois Lane, castings for Superman, the other actors that were in the running. We talked about the announcement when it was made. We talked about the cast, the first cast photo, set photos, all this stuff. Like, we have followed this very closely. And so it is kind of surreal to see moments just like this, where we're seeing these characters, these actors who have been casting these characters months and months ago, actually like in this moment. And it provides a really deep appreciation for, you know, the production process and how, you know, Hollywood goes about this process of turning something from castings to, you know, shooting to filming to reshoots to, you know, CGI and FX and all this stuff into the actual product. I find it quite fascinating. So I just wanted to point that out. But, you know, seeing Rachel Brosnahan playing the one and only Lois Lane, seeing these two characters on screen together, it's really nice. It's really nice. And obviously seeing them have a look at each other, the look on David Cornsweet's face as, you know, Clark Kent it's got to be the most Clark Kent facial expression we've ever seen. And again, it shows the amount of practice that he's put in to be a normal Midwestern, you know, kind of guy who, you know, is relatively unremarkable, but as we all know, is so much more than that. But the look on his face, like, he really sells this like bushy-tailed, bright-eyed, you know, inexperienced individual that obviously we know that he's not, but again, really sells it. And I like that. Again, it's our first look at these characters. So we obviously get another look flashing forward to Clark and who I'm assuming is Jonathan Kent, as they're sharing in a beautiful moment, a moment of embrace with each other. In this moment, it almost looks like there's a bit of solemn here, like something happened, some news was found out. Maybe Martha Kent passed away, or, you know, something like that. Maybe they're just having a moment together. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of theories that we could surmise here. Moving on from there, we get, you know, this summer, I love the tone. I love the color, the font that they used here. We get the moment in which Superman whistles to, obviously the moment he whistled, this is the moment that if you saw my reaction, I instantly was like, yeah, he's got to be calling Krypto. Krypto is coming to save him. And burrowing through the snow, we see the one and only Krypto the Wonder Dog, who I almost for a second forgot that got cast in this film, was going to be a part of this film. And we finally get to see Krypto, which in my opinion might be the best moment of the entire trailer. Not only that we get Krypto the Wonder Dog, but we see him in his cape. He's a cute dog, man. I mean, he's a cute dog. I don't know what else there is to say. He's a cute dog. You've got Krypto saving Superman, a moment in a film that I don't think I'd ever really see in my lifetime. A moment that you really only know about the relationship between these two characters from the comics, but to see this brought to a live action space in this new Superman trailer is it's beautiful. It really is. Like, when we take a moment to analyze these scenes and shots just like this, it almost makes you a little emotional, because you're like, wow, it's something I envision. You know, maybe you envision moments like this your entire life, but you didn't really place a lot of importance on them necessarily. When you do see them, though, you're like, wow, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, that's pretty cool. And so, yeah, we get Krypto coming to the aid of Superman saying, home, take me home, handing him his cape, and Krypto grabbing his cape and dragging Superman, which leads to, I'm all about super speed. I'm all about super speed moments, slow-mo sequences. This is perfect. This shot right here is perfect. when Superman, seeing him go from beaten and battered to, obviously we're getting a lot of back and forth, the moment that he's hurt to the moment when he's Clark Kent, to the moment when he's hurt, to the moment when he's saving a little girl from debris and you know, whatever. Obviously is showing the duality of the character, which I think is really cool. They could have easily just showed David Corenswet's Superman being as glorious as ever, you know, again, perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect everything. Showed him as a geeky Clark Kent and then back as a superhero, but they chose to show him as all of these sides. And I think the purpose was, at least from my interpretation, the purpose was to highlight the many multifaceted layers of Superman, that he can be hurt. He isn't invincible, right? He's obviously really strong. He is the Man of Steel, but there are threats out there that can hurt him and the people around him. But he also will, despite all of that, and despite that knowledge, still put himself in harm's way to assist and to help the people in need. And that's genuinely what makes him a hero. At the same time, he is also Clark Kent, a regular, normal guy working at the Daily Planet, you know? And so it's a beautiful thing. But let's go back. We got to go back for a second. Look at this shot. I mean, holy moly. Can we slow it down just one more time? What's the slowest we can go here? 0.25? All right, let's do it, guys. Let's do it just once, We got to see this. So obviously I didn't see it at first. I was trying to figure out what exactly this debris was that we were seeing. Obviously we're seeing some sort of giant creature, which I think was mentioned. I saw some comments where people were mentioning who the potential creature was. I forgot the name of it, but obviously this is some creature maybe deeply lore tied to Superman, who obviously invades Earth or something like that. And Superman rushes in the nick of time, jumps in to save this girl from an early gravestone, because yeah, there's no other way this would have ended. And I just gotta, like, I mean, we gotta say, guys, that it's a beautiful shot. It really is. Like, I'm all about, like, I didn't go to film school or anything like that, but I genuinely, guys, I love cinematography. I love taking in beautiful shots that seem like they were really meticulously placed, really well thought out. You know, when we look at a shot like that, it's hard to believe that they weren't hyped about that. I mean, that's easily one of the best shots of the entire trailer. Moving on from there, Superman saving the day, obviously going to his arch nemesis. We get our first look at Nicholas Hoult as the one and only Lex Luthor. Now, I'm gonna say, I may potentially have more criticism, not criticism. I would say I'm likely more critical about the role of Lex Luthor than I am about the role of Superman. And you know, I'm sure there's people out there who are far more critical of the role of Superman than I am. You know, I like that there's a new Superman. You know, obviously it would have been nice to see Henry Cavill play Superman again. I think he absolutely got shafted. He should have been in more than one movie. That's all I'll say about that. But I do like the idea that there is a new Superman. I like different interpretations of the character, and I do feel the same about Lex Luthor. I just find Lex Luthor to be just such a more challenging character to play, in my opinion. Not to say Superman's easy, but I find Lex Luthor to be a character that far less people can play, in my opinion, and play well. You know, we've seen many iterations of Superman, and I think they've all provided something beautiful to the character, even if they weren't your favorite. When it comes to Lex Luthor, I feel like there have been some great Lex Luthors, you know, great Lex Luthors. But then I look back and I also feel like, I'm not going to name any names. I just feel like there are some Lex Luthors that I just didn't like at all. I just didn't. I don't know. And not to say that Nicholas Hoult won't do a great job, but I'm going to be a little bit more critical about what I see from Lex Luthor than I would see for Superman, in my opinion. And so, yeah, we get our first look at Superman. There's a woman on top of this building here. We also get our first shot at Luthor Corp, right? We got to mention that. Our first shot at Luthor Corp, rising high above the streets of Metropolis. We also see a woman who seems to be over top the building. I don't know. It's hard to tell if she's a hero or a villain or something. I mean, we get such a small shot at her. Honestly, at first thought, when I first saw this image, I thought it was like a window painter, like somebody who, you know, goes to the windows and cleans them off or something, but it very well may not be. Somebody's obviously going down into, they were on the roof and they're going down into the thing. And then we get probably one of the most James Bond shots we could possibly get. Lex Luthor with a very classy looking pistol. And I don't know, potentially this could be him confronting the woman that was climbing down the stairs, potentially infiltrating Luthor Corp. That's just a guess. Obviously, the way they put shots together could really mislead you in any different direction, which I think is really fun. And again, outside of the shot where Superman is saving the girl, this is one of my favorite shots. This is probably my second favorite shot in this entire trailer, and that is Superman himself. Our best look, honestly, at David Gordon Sweat's Superman in action. Him breaking through, and the way that they pan the camera too is just so nice. Him breaking through this barrier. I'm just gonna let it play here. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I'm trying to figure out in this moment exactly where he is. You've got the light behind him that I think just provides such a beautiful like silhouette of the character shining, you know, this light through to us. But then the way the camera kind of pans, I think just adds so much of a necessary added effect to the intensity of the moment. And then seeing him burst through that window, obviously he's in some sort of container. And then we fast forward to probably one of the most impactful shots of the trailer, which is really to highlight what Superman stands for at his core, which is a sense of hope. And this kid raising the flag as there's obviously some sort of resistance happening, some sort of confrontation, and then raising the flag up to show Superman and him calling out to Superman. Beautiful. But then you go to what I'm assuming is, you know, obviously this is Metropolis, but I always imagine Metropolis is just like a depiction of like New York or something, you know what I mean? Maybe not Gotham, but like, maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like DC or whatever. But it like seeing images like this where everybody's obviously hating on Superman, throwing things at him and things like that. This man right behind him in the hat, obviously looking like he just lives for conflict. My man here just lives for conflict. Like he's ready to throw that can. He didn't even, the groceries in his bag, he had no intention of bringing home. He bought these cans to throw strictly at Superman. I was trying to see if there were potential some cameos in there. I don't recognize any of these individuals, so I'm assuming they're all just kind of like, you know, background actors, but really, really interesting. I don't know what he threw at him. Obviously that's irrelevant, but you know, I don't know. Maybe there's a cameo in there. I don't know. But obviously he throws a can at Superman, looking as vengeful as ever. People looking at Superman in disgust. My theory on this, guys, is that obviously Superman attempted to do right and it went wrong. And someone was hurt, maybe someone was killed, and people are blaming Superman for it, which this potentially could be the most important moment of the entire trailer, akin to him being kind of brutal and battered. We're seeing, again, the vulnerable side of Superman, where Superman is just a guy at this point in his life who simply just wants to do good. He wants to do the right thing. Obviously, it doesn't always work out. And I'm sure at this point, Superman has saved a lot of lives. He's done a lot of good. But it's so interesting and kind of sad to see how quickly the people will turn on him. And we're getting the best illustration of that in this moment, where people are obviously, they're wanting to crucify him. They're wanting answers. He's obviously, you know, beating himself up while they're waiting outside whatever building this is, some sort of museum or something like that, where they're waiting to give him a piece of their mind, you know, tell him to go back to wherever he's from, you know, the same old nonsense we see that's given to Superman. But this actually could potentially be the best shot that we get of his cape, right? The back of his cape. I like it. I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there who are going to be super critical about the suit. I personally like the suit. I think it looks, you know, it takes you back again to the early days of Superman. Like I felt like a kid watching this. Maybe the tights are, you know, a little outdated or whatever. Depends on how you see it. But I think if you're going for a very comic accurate, this is as comic book accurate as it gets. And so obviously he's, you know, beating himself up, obviously having a moment where he's struggling to figure out what to do. In this moment, I love this shot too, where we look at a vulnerable Superman. Obviously he's been going through it, but we get a look at Stag Industries, the sign up top, which is pretty cool. So they're obviously maybe in the Stag building. And then of course we get our first look at Nathan Fillion playing, he's playing Hal Jordan, right? He's playing Hal Jordan, the one and only, one of the Green Lanterns. And at first I wasn't able to picture Nathan Fillion playing Green Lantern when they first announced that he was getting cast as the character. I was like, you know, I don't see it. I just don't see it. And that's not to say that he was a bad casting. It's just one that I just can't see it. And after seeing the actual footage of Nathan Fillion playing Hal Jordan, still can't see it. But I still can't see it, but that's okay. I'm still excited. I'm excited Nathan Fillion is a part of this project. I can't wait to see more, but in this current moment, I can't see it. And we also get a look in the background here. I believe that's Hawkgirl, who's played by Isabella Merced. And obviously, the very last image that we see, we get to see Mr. Terrific, who's played by I want to say Edie Gatheki. And then of course we get again our first look at Hawkgirl in action. So you know, one thing I'm interested about, guys, is I'm interested to see how all of these characters will kind of play into the story of Superman. It's been said by James Gunn himself, I believe, in an interview, that, you know, these characters are they're not here just for spectacle. They're not here just for cameos. So if that's not the case, I'm curious to see why they're here and what exactly relation do they have to Superman. Because one thing that I've, you know, kind of judged harshly what DC was doing before James Gunn and Peter Safran took over is it felt like they were often just leaning so heavily into spectacle. They had all these characters, they didn't know what to do with them, and they would just throw them wherever, just throw them, just put them in there. And nobody did that worse, in my opinion, than Black Adam. Black Adam was a character where they could have just focused on Black Adam, and that should have been it. Should have been a strong story, maybe with one other additional, you know, new, you know, character that we came to know from comics or whatever. But they brought in so many characters. They brought in Hawkeye, Hawkman. They brought in Dr. Fate. They brought in a bunch of characters, and it felt like it just detracted every single time we saw these new characters. Some of them they didn't even get backstory to, they didn't talk about, and they weren't like, I didn't feel like all those characters were very well known. And so if you weren't really familiar with these characters at all, you were just kind of lost. And I felt like, you know, obviously again, it's a different DC. So I'm curious to see how they'll bring these characters in and how they'll play an important, crucial role to telling Superman's story, not necessarily telling their own, but telling Superman's story. So, because that's the title of the movie, that's what the movie's about. It's about Superman. So I feel like the characters within it should work to highlight that character, not detract from it. But we'll see how that works. We'll see. We'll honestly see. I'm excited to see the new additional characters, but yeah, we'll see how it works. Anyway, he's fighting some giant beast. We also get a look at what I believe to be, this was the shot that we got. It was actually one of the first images we got of David Corenswet's Superman in the suit way back when. This was months ago, probably like earlier this year. We got a look at this, and it was a beautiful, beautiful shot where there's this giant jellyfish in the background. It was kind of this like neon, almost cyberpunk like esque vibe. But we get that same shot, obviously in that same room with Lois Lane and Clark Kent, you know, Superman, having an emotional moment. I'm so excited to see the chemistry between them. They transition to a lot of moments that they're obviously having a very passionate moment together. And then they transition to this moment, which is filled with tragedy, where Superman is obviously in the Fortress of Solitude, or what I would assume to be the Fortress of Solitude. It looks very fortressy to me, crying, devastated over some robot. I honestly don't know what robot this is, or, you know, and I'm not even going to pretend to know. So let me know if you guys have any clues, theories, ideas, thoughts on what this robot is. I have no idea though. And so, but obviously, you know, Superman looks devastated. So obviously maybe this was, you know, maybe this robot was, you know, providing, you know, some guidance. Maybe it was his mom's voice or something in the robot. I have no idea. Obviously it was enough to evoke an emotional response. We also see a moment of the formation of the Fortress of Solitude, which I'm assuming is him building it for the first time. So that's going to be interesting to see. And then we move on from there. We got a few other shots. I would assume this is Metamorpho, I think. I don't know. Guys, please don't judge me if I get some of this stuff wrong. Some of these characters I'm really not that familiar with, in my opinion. I think Metamorpho is also in Young Justice. I think I'm watching him in season 3, and he can shapeshift, right? Something like that. Let me know what you guys know about Metamorpho. I'm looking to get educated here, so please fill me in. We see crashing buildings and stuff like that. We see our look at Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor in full-on hater mode. I mean, we all know Lex Luthor to be a very vengeful, you know, angry character. And this is probably the best look that we've gotten of that. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what his vendetta is, obviously against Superman, and what exactly he's trying to achieve. But honestly, I feel like if anybody is going to bring to life the character of Lex Luthor, I feel like Nicholas Hoult could do it. I mean, I'm excited to see what he brings. Obviously, you know, James Gunn, you know, masterclass in casting, you know, actors in certain roles. So obviously he picked Nicholas Hoult. He picked all these other actors for a reason. I'm excited to see how they, you know, when we actually get dialogue for these characters in the first official trailer, which will probably drop, I don't know, my guess is sometime before March. And so we once again get Superman trying to save the day We get a headline here that's worth mentioning: Baravian troops amassing at border. So obviously there's going to be some sort of international conflict here. And I think we saw that with the kid who was raising the flag. I'm curious to see how that's going to play into Superman's role, like what exactly, how he's going to find himself in the middle of that. But this is the second shot that we've gotten about some sort of international conflict that's happening overseas. And so it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how what Superman's trying to do here. And again, we see him saving the day. We then fast forward to back where we started at the beginning of the trailer with Krypto saving Superman. So excited to see this. I can't wait. Krypto's definitely going to be the hero of this. We also get what appears to be an actual baseball field that actually exists, I believe. And there's a big fight scene happening here. I'm not exactly sure who Superman is fighting, but this is the first footage that we get of him actually in an epic fight with someone that potentially could be the person that actually puts him in that state that we find him at the beginning of the trailer. So I'm interested to see exactly how that, how all these pieces connect. But obviously we're getting a lot of fast flashbacks and fast forwards to obviously throw us off the trail here. We also get our first look at Edie Gathegi playing the one and only Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific, the only time I've ever seen this character depicted in live action was obviously back in the Arrow days. I didn't love it, and so I'm curious to see if they're able to bring a little badassery to the character of Mr. Terrific, because I feel like the character at his core seems like he could be cool. What we saw in Arrow just wasn't cool to me, and so I'm curious to see exactly what they do here. Moving on from there, he's obviously protecting this young girl getting attacked. We get one of the most iconic moments, I think, in Superman and Lois is obviously the moments in which they're embracing each other, sharing a beautiful kiss, floating into the sky, all that kind of stuff. I love that, and I can't wait to see more. And then we see Superman himself flying into the sky, hence the tagline, "Look up." And yeah, I think that's it. Is that it? And then once again, that same room that they were in before, and them sharing a hug before Superman potentially obviously goes out to save the day or whatever. I love moments like this too, because it really highlights that Superman, yeah, he's Kryptonian, yeah, he's an alien, he's whatever you want to call him, but he's still a very emotional, and I would say in many ways kind of sentimental individual. He really just wants to do good. He wants to help people, and I think he really beats himself up and holds it against himself when he can't. And so Lois really represents such an important piece to Superman, and she's such an anchor to him and helping him find his own resolve within and allow him the strength that he needs internally to make tough decisions and to go out and fight the next fight the big fight. I love the relationship that these two characters have, and the strength that Lois has is just, her strength is on such a level. She has such fortitude. And I think she really helps to balance out Clark and Superman, who, occasionally doesn't have that. And so, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is our breakdown. Every scene, every shot, every moment with as much interpretation as I possibly could provide. I know I talked you guys' ears off. I'm really excited for this movie. I think DC really needed a strong start to their film lineup. I think them starting with Superman was a very bold choice, and I don't know, from what we see in the teaser trailer, I feel like it could potentially pay off for them. This could potentially put DC on the map. Once again, people are excited. They're excited, and I think that's obviously, the work that has been put in ever since James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios as like the co-CEOs or whatever, or co-presidents or whatever their role is. They obviously have been putting in the work, and we knew it was going to take some time to see that. But I feel like already we're seeing that. It feels like just yesterday we got that announcement, and we're already seeing it with Creature Commandos popping off. Great show. Love it. So funny. Really been enjoying that. And then now we're seeing it again with this trailer, which is just a teaser. We didn't get dialogue. We didn't get, we got obviously Superman talking a little bit, but I don't think we even got Lois Lane speaking. We didn't get, Lex Luthor speaking. So obviously in the first official trailer, we'll probably get hints at the actual plot. But whereas this was just kind of music and images and stills and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see more. I really am. I genuinely am excited. Cautiously optimistic, right? We don't put the cart before the horse, but I do feel like if anybody's going to bring hype and excitement and really understands comic book characters, it's James Gunn. And I say that because look at Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my favorite Marvel projects. led by James Gunn. So that's all I have to say about that. Really excited about it, guys. If you are excited as well, or if you have certain thoughts, if there's anything I missed in this trailer that you thought of or that stood out to you, let me know in the comment section, guys. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. It really does mean the world. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me as I rambled on about my thoughts about this trailer. I really just want to share this breakdown with you guys because this was exciting. It was good stuff. And obviously, if you guys enjoy the content, you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, hit my Patreon, link in the bottom of this video. If you guys want to become a Patreon member as well, join us over there. We do full uncut reactions to a variety of TV shows. Really would love to have you guys over there and hang out with you. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.